Ah, don't you just love reindeers? I certainly do. And I've got a few different designs that I'm going to share with you. This one I've been making for a few years, and I think it could use a few improvements. For example, I'm not so keen on these fluffy antlers anymore, and I think I'm going to put some wire in there to make them a bit more stable and posable even. So let's take a little look at the materials we are going to need. This is going to be the pattern, and we're going to need sheet felt in this color called Mal Gold. And this one is for the head. It doesn't really matter which color. And then I've got a few of these taupey, minky kind of colors that I'm going to blend up a bit to make the fur of the reindeer. And a pale version and a bit of brown. I'm also going to treat us to a new felt part today. This one is from the felt box. Look at all these nice colors. You fold over your felt, cut out the pattern twice, and if you want to get a screenshot of the pattern, here is your moment. We cut out the head, and then the antlers. If you want to make a few of these, it's quite good to sort of stack them into each other so they don't use up so much material. Just pin it down nice and evenly so you can cut it out easy. So because I am going to add the wire into the antler there, I'm going to leave a bit more material at the bottom there. And so it's got a bit more connection between the antlers and the body. And I'm also not going to cut it right to the pattern. I'm going to leave a bit of space around it so the antlers are just a bit chunkier, and it's going to be easier to hide the wire inside there. I haven't tried this before, so this is like the first time I'm actually doing it with a wire. Should be interesting to see how it works out. Usually things are so hectic for me at this time of the year. I've got so many things to do. I usually spend like 10 hours crafting a day. And this year I have just decided to take it a little bit easier and to really pursue the ideas that come into my head at this time. And it's just sort of ticking over and over, like you do something and then another idea pops into your head. And usually I really don't have the time to try any of them out. And this year I really want to do that and just try out the new ideas that pop up, because it's fun to do that. It's one of the beautiful things about felting, I think, that you can really, without much effort, try something new and see how it works. Instant result. Well, not quite instant, but fairly easily to achieve. There's that extra piece. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Good shape. And then we do it all again because we need 2 antlers, of course. So cut, cut, cut. Snip, snip, snip. Yeah, they're looking good so far. Let's see how the wire is going to fit into there. Just going to use a galvanized wire. Not exactly sure what gauge that is, but maybe 1 millimeter or something. It bends fairly easily. It's not a very stiff wire, but it's got enough gives it enough stability, I think, to keep it in shape. And of course, that part is a little bit fiddly, but it's not too bad actually. And once you got the basic shape bent down, then you can pinch the loops a little bit so it takes up even less space. Make sure it fits nicely. Make sure it's nice and in the middle. And then we cover the whole antler with glue. I like to use Yoo-hoo. It's just my favorite glue of all times. And just stick that right on there. And then put the other half on top. And stick it down really nicely around the wire. Make sure it's all lined up nicely. And the wire sits good and in the middle of it. And here we go. It's got a really interesting feel to it with a wire inside there. It feels so much more like antlers. Very pleased with that. Oh, then you make another one and look at that. Perfectly shaped antlers. I really like that. Oh, let's take a bit of a closer look at our reindeer face and what it actually looks like color-wise. This is a little prospectus from the Cairngorm Reindeer herd where you can go and feed the reindeers out in the, semi-wild really. I haven't made it there yet, but I would love to go one year. Actually, my daughter still owes me a day trip. So that's how I've made them before. Not too much detail. I don't want to spend 3 to 5 hours making one. I wanted to be able to sell for 15, 16, 17 pounds, something like that. So I start with this darker mink color as a base. And just attach that to the body. I'm trying to pick out the shape of the face a little bit, of the head. Stop. Makes a nice base color. And I always try and work both pieces simultaneously. So I build up one layer on one side, then I build up the same layer on the other side. Well, that's the idea. It doesn't always work, but sometimes I get a bit carried away and then I have to try and recreate it on the other side. I also didn't cut much of an ear shape there when I cut out the pattern, but I think I'm just gonna do the ears with the wool and then they're a bit more flexible, like so. And then we cover the other side. with tufts. There's my little multi-needle tool. 2 needles makes it twice as fast. So far so good. And then we can start picking out the other shades and the detail. I think I want to use a little bit more brown this time. So I'm gonna blend those 2 lighter and darker colors together. Give a bit of a mingly effect. So I'm slowly building up the layers of the dark accents first, around the chin and the forehead. And the ear. Then I'm going to take both of them off the felting part. And because at this point the ears are just about done, so I'm going to tidy up the fluff at the back of them and give them a bit of a hand felt. And then I just need the light accent, and they're pretty much there. So now it's time to put some eyes on them, because then it's much easier to work the lighter accents around. So these beads I'm using are about a 5mm, I think, 5 or 6mm. Of course, it depends a bit on the size of your template. This template is about 10 centimeter from top to bottom if you want to use that. And the eyes are pretty high and far back on the head. Take a look at the picture and adjust accordingly. When the eyes are nice and secure, you can start building up the lighter accents. And make the nice little furry noses a bit lighter as well, so it stands out a bit. Reindeer, amazingly, are the only deer type animals that have furry noses. All the other ones have like cold and red noses, but they don't, so they don't get frostbite on their nose. I think elk probably have furry noses as well. No, not elk, moose, the big ones. Pretty sure they have got furry noses. Probably for the same reasons. And then you build up your nose detail with the nostrils and around the eye. It's a bit of a darker brown. And just keep going until it vaguely resembles a reindeer. And then, of course, we have to repeat the same process on the other side. And we're also going to build up the nice reindeer beard that's at the bottom of our design. And at the throat part of the real reindeer. And for that I use a mixture of the lighter minky color, taupey color, a very pale one, and a bit of white, I think. just sort of mingle it together and build it up so it's all nice and fluffy around the bottom edge. And after a little while, you hopefully arrive at a point where you can stick both of these sides together and attach the antlers as well. Looking pretty good. Let's put it together. So that's where it comes in really handy, that we have a bit of extra material on those antlers, because that gives us a chance to attach it nice and firmly to the body, rather than just a wire sticking out there. And then I go right pretty much up to the edge with the glue. And cover the whole inside of the body. Then comes the second pair of antlers. And of course, it needs a bit more glue on top of those. Make sure you don't put any glue on the ears though, because they can be sticking out. And press it together really nice and firmly, especially behind the ears and around the antlers, of course. And you can already see how nice you can bend them out. That's a nice thing about the yoo-hoo, it dries pretty fast. You have a little bit of time to adjust it, but it dries really nice and fast. There we go. Beautiful. At that point you can tidy up the edges of the antlers a little bit. And then felt together the edges of the two pieces. And just generally tidy it up a little bit. Make it look like one piece. And then at the end, I'm just gonna trim the beard a little bit into a nice shape. And there we go. Looks pretty good so far. Lovely. We're ready for the next step. So unlike previous years where I used to use glitter spray to stiffen up the antlers a little bit and to just give it a bit of sparkle, this year I've decided to just use a bit of white acrylic and give it a bit of a snow effect, just to give them a bit more definition and more of a 3D appearance. Just kind of goes with it nicely, blends it in a bit better with the rest of the body. I'll just do it on the inside and the outside. Of those antlers. And tidy up any fluff. It might be a bit sticky by now. Yeah, I think that really brings it together nicely. Lovely. And I love that you can shape the antlers like that. It just makes it so much better. And here I'm just going to add a little touch of white mulberry silk to give it a little shimmer on the nose and a few little streaks in the beard. And a little pop around the eye there as well. And the other new thing is that I want to add an actual holder to it this year. Just to give it a nice pop of color. And I spent the next half an hour fiddling around with it, trying to get it right. But eventually I decided how to put it on. I think it looks lovely. Such an improvement from the last one. I think the bit of brown in there really brings the colors together and looks so nice with the red. And then I decided I also wanted to add some little bells and a nice bow, and I ended up putting one on each side, so it's not too much. What do you think? Takes a little while to make, but I think it's so worth it. I think it's really, really pretty. Thanks for watching.